Hello, YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. You guys know why we're here. I know why we're here. For you're new, I'm a psychologist. We literally go episode by episode on Twitch. If you guys want to join us, feel free to join us on Psychologist. If you're on YouTube and you like the content or you want to add to the discussion, drop a comment, like the video, bring it up. This is what it's about. I'm literally opening up a safe space for discussion, and which, as I said, and I will countlessly say, because there's a lot of people out there that for some reason think I'm like, it might be like too long of a discussion or targeted discussion. I'm not. I'm bringing it up in a healthful, healthy way. And, we're expanding on what is present at the moment, If you guys do get triggered at any point, it is okay. There are other series out there in which we go as in detail as this one. I believe there's like 50 episodes of ReZero that we've done, Death Parade, Death Note, so on and so forth. So feel free to jump on it. Anyway, with that being said, let's just jump into it. I really don't think there's anything else for me to say.
くれぐれも
ええ、わかっています。ギレーヌがやったですよね。
よろしい。
事件はギレーヌが全て解決したということになった。グレイラット家に剣王が招かれているのを知らしめ、家の強さを誇示するためだ。それに俺の存在を他のグレイラット家に知られるのはまずいらしい。よくわからないが、まあ政治的な駆け引きってやつなんだろ
う。Even with just saying that, first off, the political structure inside of nobility, back in the day, like medieval times, even in today's standards, right? Like, there's so many weird things that you have to watch out for, i.e. the political struggle and the struggle. Wow, that alcohol is hitting me. The political struggle in between families that are trying to ascend to power can often lead to random deaths, even framing it, which I think is the number one thing, If you have, say that you're bringing someone up from another family or even your own family, and boom, let's say that for some reason, throwing this out there, it's not real. Something happens, an accident happens to your father and they pass away. If the person that you brought into your family is brand new into the family, who do you think the first suspicions are going to land on? Make it even worse. Make it even worse. If, let's say that you don't have a credit card, and I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys, straight up, not like, don't take this as like advice from a psychologist, this little portion right here, but take it as advice from a friend. Never, ever, absolutely, ever, and I guess just in general, just common knowledge, get medicine for a person without it being prescribed from a doctor. Straight up. Never, ever do that, because say that you found a penis enhancement pill on Facebook and you order it from your credit card. Your dad takes it, passes. Either he had an allergic reaction or something. Guess who they're going to track that down to? Just throwing that out there, And mine is big enough. No, but the point is, like, because there's a lot of interactions nowadays, especially in communities and in households, where there are like medicines available out there that you can go, especially if you live closer to the border, Blade Dragon. For example, in Mexico, I can just cross over to Mexico and pick up like a whole bunch of prescription medicine, right? Without a prescription. Terrifying. So if you don't know what the medicine does for you, don't get it. Now, why am I going into this? I'm going into it because of the framing work, right? We're talking about how individuals can be framed for actions taken that are out of our control, right? So if we're talking politically, we can already go in depth about like what political strides can go ahead and happen and fight over someone that maybe has a lot more power over his age than other individuals, right? So i.e., we're going to go ahead and, like, let's say it's Rudius, right? We want to go ahead and marry Rudy to my daughter, right? So that way, I now have someone that has like insane level magic skills in the family, right? And can maintain the name going forward. Or maybe Rudy should be the head of the household. You have like 101 divisions in which you can go into. And it's really, really interesting to think about like the political struggle in that way, Yeah. So that's and that's exactly it. Like, and it could also be like, if there's too much power being put in there, an assassination on Rudy because he's way too strong for his age or something like that. At the end of the day, political moves, and especially when it comes to family dynamics, which I know is a word that gets thrown out there often, but not a lot of people know what it means. Family dynamics in general means like the way that power gets shifted in the interactions inside of a family, i.e., why a lot of people have difficulties bringing up boundaries is because the sort of family dynamics is off funk a little bit. There are certain areas in which the family dynamics have not reached into, both in parenting skills wise and as a child or an individual inside of that. So really important to take a look into both the family dynamics at large, not necessarily the internal family dynamics, and so on and so forth. Anyway,
ことになった
お初にお目にかかります。ルーデウス・グレイラットです。
フィリップの奥さんか。
bruh. Oh, don't tell me your dad slept with her too.
なんで
Oh.
パウロの息子はここか。
はじめ
My first guess, bruh, was quite literally like, don't tell me that Paul slept with her as well. Like, my whole thing is anytime I see a woman appear on screen, now I'm gonna be like, don't tell me Paul slept with her. Dude. Like, every single time.
めまして、ルーデウス・グレイラットです。
パウロの息子にしては礼儀正しい。この館への滞在を許す。
Oh.
ルーデウス様、そちらは現フィットア漁師のサウロス・ボレアス・グレイラット様にございます。
Oh, look, a bunny girl. Isn't this what you wanted to watch, AZ? Bunny girl? Right? This one back here? Yeah, there you go, AZ. We got to watch Bunny Girl. There you go.
助けてくれ、貴様。このわしに嘘をつく気か。
いえ、フィリップ様がそう言うと。
Bro, shifting the blame.
温かみのあるものを与えたいと
You know, even though he loses his head a lot, I guess the Lord, I forgot his name. Can you guys remind me of his name? This dude? The guy on the chair? I completely just blanked on the name. But even though he loses his head a lot, like his emotions are like everywhere. Sauros. That's a badass name actually. Even though Sauros is like kind of yelling and whatnot, I bet you almost fucking anything. He's like a fucking teddy bear or something to certain individuals. Yeah. Like if you open up their vulnerability, they're more than likely really soft. I bet you the same thing goes for like, because there's certain walls, boundaries that are set up when new people are introduced, right? Like, yeah, I don't know, dude. I'm just interested in where this goes.
ルーデンス、頼みがある。
はい。
エリスに魔術を教えてやってくれ。何でもお前の使った魔術が目に焼き付いて離れんらしい。
それ。
なんだと？
頼み事をしたいけど、
Oh.
頭を下げるのは嫌。
Oh, he's a grandpa's little girl. That's what he is. Oh, instantly this clicked. Sorry, I have a lot of clients like this. Where like the granddaughter, like in therapy, you can also do family counseling and whatnot. And you can see this quite often, either like, especially like the little girls tend to have like either daddy or grandpa around their finger, and they'll do all their bidding for them. And like sometimes you have to step in as a therapist and be like, yo, they have to learn that they have to use their words, they have to step in, they have to apologize, they have to fail and grow. And they're like, but we don't want them to be hurt. How can you be saying this to me? You're supposed to be a professional. And it's like, yeah. And I'm trying to help prepare you and them for the real life. Like, what are you going to do when she has a boyfriend? Freak the fuck out, not understand, and then when she says, it's okay, you're okay with it? Like, you have to understand, like, people have to grow up, go through everyday life, or partner or whatever. You guys know what I'm getting at. The point is, like, yeah. You often exactly that. Like, what is going to happen? Other than, here's the thing: if you're not ready for it, if it's an unexpected passing or something like that, especially for individuals that are wrapped around, like, for example, and it's happened a long time ago, so I can go ahead and say this individual, like girl around 10, no, she was more like 14. She was around 14, 15 years old. Um, had her grandfather around her finger. Grandpa take me to the store, grandpa do this for me, so on and so forth. Grandpa passes away. Can you guess what she did? Anyone want to take a wild guess? They won't say your little girl's forever. Exactly. She can't. But can you guess what happened when grandfather was no longer there for this little girl? They didn't know. I went to another random. Aside from that, Blade Dragon, they didn't know how to process it. Because, if it wasn't grandpa, it's the new boyfriend that they had. It was father. It was mother. They always had someone that they could attach themselves to. But in a scenario like that, where the main focus, the main individual, the main support pillar, the main inspiration that they were looking at disappeared. I'll be honest with you. They ran away. They tried to run away from the responsibilities, from the relationship that they had just started. Straight up just took off. Because inside of their mind, they weren't worthy enough to face through the troubles of, all of a sudden, all this guilt, all this feeling of like not good and good needs. They felt too dependent. They felt as though like their parents and life hadn't prepared them for what's to come, And it's a lot to like take in. It's a lot to think about, And granted, you could have scenarios where the individuals start to go ahead and, both guys and girls, start to use this whole like ring around the finger for the rest of their life, and that's an improper coping mechanism, in which you have very, very excellent manipulators that go ahead and do certain strategies like that, But it's one of two reactions that you can usually go with that, aside from just the standard grieving, processing it, and then trying to grow up. But anyway, I just found that interesting. This guy just reminded me a lot of that guy. Damn, my dude's scramming English.
Aries!
True. Don't tell me. You guys think, and you guys wonder, you guys fuck me, dude. I was talking about cat girls. This is not what I meant by cat girls. Hope you guys. Fuck, now this is gonna come back and bite me in the ass in a clip later, but that's fine. Whatever, dude. No, like. There you have your cat girls. I know, AC. Now I feel your pain. Fuck me, dude. No, like. I wonder, and this is kind of funny because it kind of goes into like the living in your own world type of scenario. How easily you can be influenced with bad information, Oh God, AZ. Yeah, how easily you can be influenced by bad information. I wonder if someone told them that this is like how you apologize, how you get boys, something fucking silly like that, dude. Like, I don't know, dude. That's just fucking hilarious. Yeah, be vulnerable. You know what's funny? This, I have the anxiety, same. You know what's funny though? I have a feeling, and this is just straight up a feeling, nothing scientific behind it. Just because there's a cyclical thing, right? I guess you can say kind of scientific around it, which is why a lot of people are like, oh no, like, if you ever have secure attachments, your secure attachments will tell you, we want you to have a life that's better than ours, right? Parents will usually, I'm going to say all parents, want you to go ahead and have a life that's better than theirs, i.e., whatever that means. Either it's your own personal happiness, finding that out, living towards the standards that you set for yourself. But I'm not sure if you guys have heard of this thing. It's called generational trauma. Yeah, hashtag not all parents. There's a thing called generational trauma, which is essentially that trauma from our parents, i.e., anything from like war related to so on, can be passed down in forms of thinking, even genetically at times. I believe there's studies that are going into that. And it's not just those traits. It can be such traits such as, for example, you have dementia, right? That's a common, that's not a generational trauma, but it's something that can be passed down. And you have other things, that can come down. So the reason why I'm touching on this is because it's not just the ones that are constantly based on the forefront of like every fucking social media article and TikTok and whatnot. Like, first off, I gotta fucking hit on this point. Individuals that come out here and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm an empath." No, the fuck you're not, dude. Like, you can be empathetic, but you're not an empath, dude. Who the fuck are you, Magneto? Like, what are you, an X-Man? Like, anyone that starts off, like, your first interaction by saying some weird shit like that, just ask them what the difference between sympathy and empathy is, and if they can actually get that right, then you might be dealing with someone that can kind of understand human emotions better. It's an ESP ability. But no, like, what I'm trying to hit at is like, aside from what's really pushed down on the narrative, sexuality wise as well, can you guys guess what other factors are brought down to us from our parents? Anyone want to take a wild guess? Certain tastes you develop. Thinking patterns can be, right? But educational systems can fix that. So on, easy, that was rough. But, for example, hypersexuality, hyposexuality, that can be passed down. Certain schemas can be passed down. So what I'm getting at is and this is why, like, and this will sound really fucked up. You will hear counselors and people say, "I broke the cycle," right? My grandfather was a drunk, my father was a drunk, and I broke the cycle, right? And it's not just aside from and mannerisms, yeah. And it's not just their narrative that's being thrown out there. It can quite literally be, as I mentioned, generational trauma that keeps coming down. Addiction is a strong one, substance use, so on and so forth. And by substance use, I mean like you might be more prone to get addicted to certain substances quicker, or gambling for that matter. But why am I getting at this? See, what I'm thinking is not old Rudius. I'm not talking about Rudius on Earth. I'm talking about Rudius here. I feel like with his skills, he might become like a Giga Chad, right? And not like, I don't know how to put it. I feel like he might be a weird teenager. I'm just gonna throw that out there. I feel like he might be like, trying to find what balance is throughout his life. But I feel as though because he is talented, because he has the ability to, and like outside thinking, he might follow in Paul's footsteps. And that's what I want to see. I want to see how far he follows in parental behavior, if that makes sense. Anyway. Theme song. Music, yeah. Don't want to get copyright struck. Bro, you shouldn't. My dude isekai'd and became the first otaku in another world. My dude isekai'd, and he's like, my priority isn't to try and become rich. My priority ain't to try and spread a religion of Rudy. It's to try and create as many statues as possible. My religion is to try and get other people into seeing how beautiful my statue is. Oh boy. Yeah, my my dude goes into another world. He doesn't think, you know what? Roxy is him. He's like, let me go ahead and invent people body pillows. Or, even better, some figurines. Oh, my dude. I applaud him for it. I feel like he might, if he's smart about it, he might be able to actually land a couple of people to start investing more into the cultural aspect of, I don't know, himself. I can see him just becoming OP and shit. I don't know, dude. Imagine him. Oh, no, dude.
始めて1ヶ月、エリスが授業を聞いてくれない。諭そうとしても逃げ出す。捕まえようとすると殴ってから逃げ出す。
My boy. I sincerely. Fuck, how do I put this? Let me 750. Let me my boy. My boy. I need to take a drink for you right now. I need to take a drink for Rudy right now. Guys, you guys are drinking water or something. Take a drink for Rudy. Take a drink for Rudy. Rudy, I'm gonna be straight up with you. If you do get in any way, shape, or form catch feelings for this girl, I'm sorry, dude. Behaviors that have already been ingrained in you. No, I sincerely apologize. I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. Behaviors that have been ingrained in you as a child can manifest itself over and over and over. Even if you could like fix it for a little bit, even if you relapse for a little bit, or like you get decent for a little bit. What is your common behavioral pattern? You revert back to when you were a child. Now, what does this line says? And then what does this line say down here? Try to catch her. She punches me, then runs. Oof. Think about it like this. If this is how she's handling her emotions, if you guys were to get together when you guys are teenagers or adults or anything like that, you catch feelings for her, she might, you guys might be together, you might try to solidify things, she hurts you emotionally and then runs. You try to find her, she hurts you, then she runs. That's called cyclical behavior, guys. Very common knowledge of something that starts off when you're young. That's something that comes up which is why it's important. It's important that as children, especially if you have kids, you notice the behaviors that they're doing. How are they responding in times of crisis? How are they responding emotionally to individuals that are trying to take care of them? So on and so forth. Of course, things can get fixed. Things can, especially through a lot of work, attachment work, so on and so forth. But behavioral patterns tend to be very cyclical and can be very damaging.
追いかければ戻ってきてもう一度殴って
Oh, if I chase her, she comes back to punch me again, then runs. Oof, dude. I'm sorry, that's another.
読み書きと算術となる
Sorry, guys, not TOS.
起きないと襲っちゃいますよ。
What the fuck? That's not what you say to someone, dude.
まだまだ AA じゃな。しかし精進すれば E ランク以上になるじゃろうって。
お嬢様起きてください。楽しい勉強の時間ですよ。
Come for your fun lessons.
各班からのセットプレー。壊し見てから余裕でしたってか。
Behavior like this, and this is one thing, right? When people tried, first off, even with him, right, and his actions, if this was presented to a judge, psychologist, whatnot, aside from blame being thrown on the child for not to do certain things, it would immediately go back to the parents. So this is what I don't understand. This is why sometimes, people try to justify, oh yeah, no, well, and I'll throw this up, and this is exactly the perfect point. You know what? Fuck it. We're going hard. I'm going hard. I don't give a shit, dude. No, I have a fundamental issue, not with the anime. Don't get me wrong. It is not with the anime. It is people that excuse this behavior. Very different. The anime is one thing. It is bringing up a discussion point, whether or not you like it or not. People who tend to give excuses for this behavior, that is not cool, dude. You are literally giving consent for situations like this to happen because in your brain, right, you're trying to go ahead and be like, it's not the parents' fault. Oh, it's not Rudius's fault. Then whose fault is it? People are taking actions here. People are taking events here, and people are like, if this were to happen to your daughter or your son, you would be pissed the fuck off, and you would immediately take action in some way, shape, or form. So when I hear people, right, and specifically people in chat that come in and they're like, "Oh, it's not Rudius's fault. Clearly, why are you blaming Rudius or why are you blaming Paul?" It's like you guys have to understand. I'm bringing this up as discussion points about what you should do psychologically speaking in regards to this. But yet there are individuals out there that are like, it's normal for children to be seen at this age as adults," and it's like, are you not understanding what I'm saying? A child is not an adult, and I'm talking about modern day logic. I'm using modern psychology to look into the past and mention why these things keep popping up, why these incidents happen. Number one, a brain isn't fully developed until they're in their mid-20s, right? So let's start off by saying that. Number two, every single thing that your child does, it learns from reaction. It learns from environment. It learns from the father, the mother, whatever's out there. It mimics, right? So let me bring this up because, like, I see individuals like this, like, post like weird defensive comments, like I've just insulted their favorite character. I look back at it and I'm like, I wonder what you. First off, not throwing out any blame or anything like that, but I wonder what is the boundary line for you specifically that you're willing to excuse behavior like this. I wonder where ethically it's okay for you to be like, yeah, no, maybe it is his fault. Maybe he did take things a little too far. You know what? No, maybe his parents should have actually had a talk with them instead of saying that having to talk to a child that age is like too slow. You know? And it's weird. It is such a weird thing, to like notice that individuals are willing to go. You can like a character, don't get me wrong. You can absolutely like a character. You can identify with the character, but you should not be that character. You should never be a character that you see on screen or an anime or whatever, and you should never try to justify a character. The moment you go that far, to try and justify a character's actions, you are blending your narrative with the character, right? I am presenting these facts, right? The way a psychologist would see it, the way if Rudy was brought to me as a child, right? And was like, hey, you know what? This happened. There was an SA charge. Where do you want to go from here? I mentioned it before. Parents, number one. Number two, what are the actions that are happening inside of the house, right? And in case you guys are wondering, why are you going with the parents? Because a child mimics. The justification in this is not like, it's not like I'm saying, oh, the anime is bad for portraying this. No, because this shit happens in real life. It does. Sad to say it, guys. And it's a very triggering comment. And a lot of people have experienced it in some way, shape, or form. Right? But, and I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, chat. I've gone off the rails for a little bit. Hi, Jake. But I go off the rails because of that. I go off the rails because it needs to be said. It needs to be heard. When we talk about MT or Mushoku Tensei or whoa. Audience is free to react however they feel. That doesn't. So here's the thing. You as an audience member can like it, can dislike it, or whatever. But when you try and justify something, that's where you're wrong, dude. You're trying to justify SA. You can say, you know what? I don't like the fact that this happened. Or, you know what? Maybe, it's okay to be like, you know what? I like the character. I don't like the character. But to go as far as to try and justify SA, especially to professionals that are saying, hey, you know what? This lies with the parents, and this is how a psychologist, a doctor, a police, a lawyer, i.e., for example, if a lawyer was like, you know what, we would try and prosecute and these charges, I would not argue with him because he clearly went to school. He knows what he's talking about, and he's had many, many positions that I'm sure he's dealt with situations. Back to the topic on hand. Just trying to, we'll process that as we go forward. I will 100% leave this in the video for those that are wondering what happened, why there was a big moment of silence. This is why, because sometimes big world events happen and we have to acknowledge them. Back to back with heavy stuff. Anyway, In case you guys are wondering why I sometimes look at your comments, right? Especially here when we're talking about Mushoku Tensei, and I look at you guys fucking weird, or you guys might feel like I'm like didn't respond or whatever. It's because of this. This is called Piaget's theory of cognitive development. Yeah. How old is Rudius at this point? Like 7, right? Right? 7. At this point in time, right? A child can be ahead or whatever. But if you're trying to say, oh no, it's because they're children or seen as adults and whatever. This point in time, or from 2 to 7, they start to use their language. They start to egocentrically think about themselves from other viewpoints, and they have difficulty seeing themselves from other viewpoints. And they can classify single feature objects during this time period. Would you let a 7-year-old go out and venture into the world? I wouldn't. I definitely wouldn't. Not at all. Now, and this is not even bringing up Freud's stuff. I'm not even bringing up like the psychosexual stages. I'm not bringing up other development theories. I'm just using Piaget in general. 7 to 11. You know what? He might be in that age range, right? Logical thinking. He recognizes conservation of numbers and mass and weights. Okay, he's able to do that because he's able to do math and so on. Classifies objects by several features and then can place them in order. Congratulations. Your child can organize and count. Is that enough to send your child out into the real world? Probably fucking not, dude. There are people that can be a little bit ahead. But, here's a big but. This is the cognitive development model. This is where, this is where a big change starts happening for individuals. And even if, you're trying to say like, oh, well, Rudius is clearly developmentally ahead. Sure. You know what? You can say that. That's absolutely fair. You can say that he's ahead. But we're talking about the construction of the body that he's in, the brain that he's in currently. I'm sorry, guys, but a majority of our brain, the way that our neurons fire, or neurons connect, or neurons create new things, are by the memories, the emotions, the scenarios that we feel when we learn something new, when we experience something. That's how our neurons start attaching. That's how we start forming and start going from a smooth brain monkey into finally like an actual fucking brain, And Shakat, that is absolutely what I was going to hit on. You just took it away from me. Children being seen as adults sounds like an excuse for noblemen or individuals in power in general to have relations, which is absolutely horrible. And again, the justification for that, you can say, oh, it's a fantasy world. We're not talking about shitting on Mushoku Tensei. What we're talking about is the justification, the action of justifying why it's okay. It's okay in the narrative of the show, right? The show can bring up whatever themes it wants to bring up. But then individuals that are like, oh, of course she's a 500-year-old oldie. It's fine. Oh yeah, no, she's 15. It's fine. What the fuck are you guys on, dude? Don't get me started, dude. You're supposed to mature like fine wine in age and come with this experience. And there's always something I kind of laugh at, and I never really use the line because I always find it kind of weird because technically once you're of age, you're able to make whatever decisions you want. But there's always this line I like to throw out there. It's if they're not dating someone or someone around their age range, what are they doing with someone significantly younger? What does that mean? Paul let Rudy live in his relative's house instead of actually letting him live on his own in Magic University. Oof. And to be fair, here's the thing. I feel like if Rudy were to go to Magic Uni, yeah, and learn and grow, I feel like he'd be one of the most OP individuals ever. I feel like he could probably advance to a level we haven't seen before. Probably an actual fucking national threat type Reinhardt level. But the fact that they that it's oh no, attachments, and yet you send them with someone that is avoidant, yeah. So here we have attachment styles, and this is what you guys can go ahead and see, right? And here's the thing: who can identify Rudius almost immediately? No distress when caregiver leaves. And this is avoidant, by the way. I just sent to a voice. Insecure is kind of stupid because you know that anything that's not a secure attachment is insecure. Reincarnation is also a part of a lot of Latin American cultures. But, for example, a soul being in a younger kid's body, I mean, you will never know if that's really true or not. You know, if a young kid comes up to you and talks to you or whatever, right? But his actions, you know, yeah, his actions are something to be questioned. Like his soul, I don't like personally, as I mentioned before, if it was a mega Chad, a super giga Chad like Hassan that reincarnated into Rudius's body, I bet you anything that you would have people that would be like, oh no, it's fine. Absolutely, there would be no controversy regarding this, right? That's the funny point. Is like, yeah, is you would have like individuals being 110% okay with like a super giga Chad reincarnating and doing all the things that Rudius did. I bet you like they would be a little bit of controversy, but not as much, right? But when we shift it and we shift it into a perspective of say that someone that's like an otaku, someone that's like closed in, probably didn't really take good care of himself, so on and so forth, all of a sudden it's disgusting. It's like where's that boundary line? The boundary line is that people have this weird social stigma, all right, where if something is not adherent to their beauty standards, all of a sudden it's completely wrong. It's like that's not fair, that's not true, when in fact the actions itself, and that's exactly what we're criticizing, the actions itself are something to be discussed. I don't care if someone was ugly or not in the past life. What I care about is the actions that they're taking nowadays to either improve or connect, you know? But anyway, avoid, okay, caregiver behaviors. Unresponsive, uncaring, or dismissive. You guys might be like, oh no, but Paul and you know, his wife were always there for Rudy. If they were, you know, first off, Paul would probably beat him up with the stick for training. Rudy, because he showed that he could like stop crying or not cry, probably became unresponsive unless he called out to them directly. Uncaring is one where I would kind of strike off, but unresponsive and dismissive, I can kind of see that. That Shu, oof, Shu bringing in facts right now. But and then the child behaviors, no distress when when the caregiver leaves. We've seen that, you know, even the maid found it super fucking weird. Does not acknowledge the return of the caregiver. We've seen that. Does not seek or make contact with caregiver. We see that, you know. Here's the thing. Avoidant attachment can almost become anxious attached individuals almost instantly, you know. And with anxious, you know, attachment, in case you're wondering, it can either be disorganized or ambivalent, depending. So if avoidant attachments actually start becoming attached and say they have a really bad breakup, what happens? Oh no, don't leave. Why are you leaving? Oh no. You know, maybe sometimes the interactions with a new person, a new relationship can feel false and so on and so forth. Anyway, with that being said, let me bring up my screen. But yes, what I'm getting at in the end is essentially that when it comes to actions like these, you have to take a look at the parents. For example, did Paul actually have a meaningful conversation with Rudy about boundaries and consequences specifically? Or did he just let it, you know, was it just a soft conversation and letting it slide? Was it never brought up again? These are conversations that you should be having over and over again. This is not just a one-time conversation. And yes, for those of you that are wondering, because I've seen people that try and defend it, be like, he's just a kid. So then you agree, for example, they say he's just a kid, he shouldn't be talking about certain things like that. So then you agree, why did he send them out to the real world? If that is your base of judgment. He's just a kid, he shouldn't be having, you know, boundary talks or sex conversation or so on and so forth. Then he's not ready for the real world. If that is your justification, then you have played yourself. Here's the thing, Shu. Even that is not a justification. There are individuals that are locked in that have been, really fucked up, like tortured, abused, so on and so forth. And yet they still have insane amounts of restraint, empathy, and control over their actions. I have individuals that I counsel on the daily, for example, that are sort of like, shut in ever since COVID started. They've been shut in sort of beforehand, actually. And one of the biggest things that come out of it is that they're very empathetic. They have their boundaries set. They have all of this. Your trauma doesn't justify your actions. If you have trauma and you've worked on your trauma, excellent for you. But your trauma doesn't justify causing other people their own trauma. And that's the number one thing. That's not an attack or anything. That's just really important to go ahead and know. Like, for example, I'm seeing Rudius, and the way that I'm dissecting Rudius right now is Rudius as this incarnation, right? Rudius in the previous incarnation, he had a lot of attachment issues. You can say he had a lot of like issues in general, just based off of the small snippet that we've seen, right? But off of that learning comes from his parents, his modern day parents. People can always learn new things on the environments that they're set in. So then if you think that their parents in the past sort of failed Rudius for not giving him the proper skills, then the parents nowadays have failed him just as equally for not talking to him about the boundaries that he needs to set, for not talking to him about, hey, you need to have control and restraint over your actions, especially if you're being seen as a mature adult, and so on and so forth. But the main justification that I'm like, the main point that I'm hitting on is that there are a lot of people out there that try and say that he's an adult, but yet will try and say that he's not ready to have the adult conversations. You can't have it both ways. You can't start throwing out both things and expect the child to be knowledgeable about what is okay and what is not okay. And sitting here, it's like, yep, and that's exactly it. But Blade Dragon, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because there are people that will literally cling on to, like, for example, model themselves after certain characters, model themselves after certain actions, and it's like, as I mentioned, the show is bringing up these discussion points beautifully. It's allowing us to have these discussion points, but it is not. It's not in a promotion of them, the way that I'm saying it currently. It's not saying, hey, go ahead and do these, but it's also saying don't justify them. Like, there's no need to justify the actions. It's okay to look at it's big fucking shocker moment for a lot of you guys. It's okay for your character to have flaws, guys. It's okay. Your character can have flaws, guys. That's how they grow. That's how they become mature individuals that grow into certain pieces of like whatever. That's what allows them to actually gain and form new memories, new consciousness, and become the individuals that they are. But that doesn't mean that you can't criticize their actions. For example, I don't like the fact that, Rudius is doing this, right? Because there's a lot of boundaries that are being crossed, a lot of lines that are being crossed with Eris as a character. I'm not talking about just like the general fact that he's doing this. I feel like it's a great discussion point. But I'm talking about like, if I was Eris's father, how would I feel? If I was Eris herself, how would I feel? If I was Rudy and like I saw something like this happening, right? Or I saw someone else doing this to Eris, how would I feel? Putting yourself in the sociological imagination that we did a couple days ago, you start finding out that there are a lot of flaws in these characters that need to be addressed. Anyway. Actually, yes, Shakat. And for all you ReZero stands out there that are saying Subaru is a perfect character, he is not. By any limit, is Subaru not a perfect character. I am sorry. Neither is Emilia. No, any character in ReZero in general is not a perfect character. Like, they all have flaws, guys. That's what they're all working on.
パーティー名は国老の牙。メンバーは6人。剣士2人、戦士とシーフ、それに僧侶に魔術師がそれぞれ1人。
Hold on. Hold on. Is that Paul? Is that Paul? It looks like the dude. Like a young dude. Like a young version of him. Okay, if that is him. Wild prediction here, but he literally like fucked 30% or some shit like that. But it's also interesting if this is him and like Rudy's mom back here. as like a cleric or something. I could definitely see like I don't know, maybe an introduction or something. Dude, I don't remember all the specific lines. Like we're past that, dude. I'm in the here and now, not in the past, brother.
一人ずつ物資の調達や配分はメンバーに任せっきりだった。
食いついた。
もしかしてそのパーティーに父様や母様も？
ああ、もう7年も前に。
There we go.
やっぱりそうだったの。
情けないわね。そんなんだから舐められるのよ。
いや、ルーデウスは魔術師だ。それでいい。
そうなの？じゃあ仕方ないわね。
She switches so
なんで俺
quickly.
殴られたの？
すまんが足のすくむ癖の直し方は知らん。自分で何とかしろ。
はい。ルーデウス、早く起きなさいよ。もう一本行くわよ。少しは手加減してくれてもいいんですよ。ルーデウスが弱すぎるのよ。
Oh, dude,
This you
that's gonna be your
man.
downfall so hard.
よし、始め。
My dude has made like so many like other figures and stuff. Damn, look at him go.
し、
Oh,
失念していた。そうだ、休みがない。
早く行きましょ
this is gonna sound fucking weird. Does hair have any weird implications in this society? I.e., you shouldn't dye your hair blue or orange or white or, you know, so on and so forth. Only because I see that like Eris's hair is like a vibrant red, which, as I mentioned, higher all one, which, as I mentioned before, like with Eris in general, her behavior of like, you know, when Rudius was mentioning about like running away, catching up, her punching him, hurting him, and then like leaving, like that is an instilled behavior that we're seeing in the cycle, right? And I sincerely hope, because so far the author has been pretty good at like the way that like he's delivering certain things. I really hope that like if he brings this up around, like i.e. as an adult, like if this ever goes into adulthood, we see Eris follow the same cycle. Because that would be absolutely beautiful, you know? Green hair is... You probably shouldn't dye it green. Interesting. So there are certain implications, just in regards to hair and like the significance of it, right? Because you guys know that I can go like, you know, I really like when a magic system is really well thought out, i.e. what is, for example... Well, I still remember this conversation because I was laughing about it so hard with some of my nerdy friends who were actually, they were kind of blown away by it. We discovered a way in which the internet can be created inside of a ReZero world or Isekai world or NFTs, so on and so forth, which is hilarious to think about in that regard, you know? Yeah, Blade Dragon, you remember that? I had a couple of my friends, like one of them is like a full-on physicist. He was laughing his ass off. He's like, dude, how do you guys come up with this shit? This is great. It's like a number one way of like ruining an anime and like bringing it to the modern age. I was like, I know. True. Yeah, guys, for those of you guys that are new on stream, I've been drinking a little bit, so just bear with me, dude. But the magic system so far, it's interesting that it is sort of that like image-based conduit, right? So, you know, you can, for example, Rudy, right? If I was Rudy, that is, I would go ahead and fake chanting for as long as I can. Because even in battle, you know, if I'm going out here and I'm like, you know, appear, oh liquor of life, blah, 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 blah. If I keep saying it over and over and over, and I'm fighting one of you guys, say I'm fighting, say that I'm fighting Magister at this moment in time, right? Like Magister is my enemy, and I was like, oh, liquor of life, blah 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 blah, and I keep doing it in order to get like I don't know, a healing potion or something. You know, Magister is gonna be like subconsciously prepared to hear my words every single time I'm about to do something. And if halfway through the battle, this is just like in martial arts, if I switch up my stance, if I'm able to switch up my rhythm and switch up the way that I throw kicks or just my fighting style completely, it'll fuck a person up. it'll throw them off guard. It'll catch them by surprise. You know, like that is absolutely, yeah, absolutely huge. Like if you're able to go ahead and discuss, for example, if one day, and any of you guys in my chat are isekai'd into another world, and you guys found out that you guys can chant without saying, or like cast spells without chanting, I would say learn the chants. That way you can have a fake out moment in case you ever need it. Because that'll be fucking crucial, dude. That'll be devastating towards anyone. Bruh. That's all. Shoot, I was actually joking about that the other day. Imagine being able to separate like the hydrogen and oxygen or colliding them at a certain amount of speed. Just create an A bomb everywhere, dude. Or H2O. Yeah. That is OP, dude. That is so OP to think about, and just go ahead and do it.
何ですかこれ。
My dude. You might need that someday, but not now. When you're old, dude. But not now. Viagra this.
何よその文字読めないじゃないの。メモだから僕が読めればいいんですよ。何書いてるか教えなさいよ。
横暴なお嬢様だ
And stop. You know, it should be true, dude. Like, you know, when you're older, you know, you might need a little blue pill. I'm not saying that ain't a bad thing, guys. By the way, there's a lot of people that love to shit on individuals that need to take any type of medication or aphrodisiacs in order to get the job done. Never gonna go ahead and, when you take sexology classes, you get to experience a whole wide realm of things. That's the best way I can put it, master. So no shitting on any regard in any sense for anything like that. So absolutely none. What I will say though, it is really important that he is taking down the prices, and also the fact that this is the Fitoa Kingdom, right? How much of a threat can Rudius grow to where he can impact other nations or other stabilities or other people there? You know? That's my number one concern, my number one thing there in general. I.e., if Rudius actually went to university and studied and learned how to do magic and everything properly, or the Fitoa region, there you go. Thank you, Nickmer. If he learned the magic and whatnot to like insane degree, do you feel like he would be able to be like one of the top 10 strongest fighters in the world and influence sort of political regions and geography based on what he's doing? You know? Yeah, having knowledge from our world is already insanely powerful, especially if it was towards an individual that was already kind of smart. Can you guys imagine what that would do? Fucking create some amazing ass advancements just in general. But I don't know how else to put it. Yeah, like it's just insane to think about, you know? Just look at Gussie, you know? Like insane, dude. Top 10. But no, Ghislaine is really, really powerful, and I feel like the use of her as an individual, Masters, her as an individual, really, like, as a testament of strength is awesome, but at the same time, what happens if something goes really fucking wrong? You know? What happens if, like, all of a sudden there's an assassination attempt and the lords are executed or killed, or they're, like, poisoned, or Eris is the only one left? What happens to Ghislaine? Or is that Ada, dude? No. Dude. What do you expect? Also, that whiskey's fucking hitting strong, guys. I apologize in advance. This is supposed to be a short video, but fuck, dude. But naming the prices of goods and things. Sorry, before I continue. How would you guys, right? You guys were isekai'd into this world. Knowing the prices of goods and things, what is the first thing that you guys would do? Fuck, dude. No, we're not. Actually, just in general, the stream might hit 4 hours, but I don't think we're going to go 4 hours into Mushoku Tensei. I'll be honest. The first thing I would do is just straight up try and hold all this at Nickver. Nickver, no, but I like you here. It's good to have you and Shu and Nanosag, everyone in here. Absolutely, and Vatosh and everyone. Absolutely, and Masters, of course. Everyone in here is absolutely great. That's why I love having you guys in here. Just don't spoil. That's the only thing. You know, you can meme me, that's fine, but don't spoil. Compare currency. Comparing currency, absolutely true. Learn economics, true. You can also monopolize certain regions. You know, compare prices between stores, being able to do that. If you have any type of magic that's able to grow a certain type of product, you can monopolize that product. Because I'm sure that, like, if you're able to learn about the economies inside of that region or inside of the city that you're staying in, you can quite literally become sort of like the first, like, super duper merchant that's able to set up and quickly rise to the top because you're able to control the environment, control weathers, being able to build up certain things, i.e., say an apple, right? If your competitor is selling your apple for 5 cents or 5 coppers and you're able to sell it for 2, because you can grow them almost instantaneously, you know. So if you're able to do that, that would, yeah. Granted, you might raise suspicion that, like, you're somehow able to create all of this shit, but so on and so forth. Insane to think
商
about.
品の名前と値段です。そんなこと調べてどうするのよ。相場を調べるのはネトゲの基本ですよ。
Oh, my dude,
ほら、見て
big
くだ
brain.
さい。向こうの店だと大同価5枚で売っていたものが、こっちだと4枚で売っていますよね。
Guys, I am sorry, but I'm starting to really like this author. I'm starting to like him because he just literally, I just explained all this shit. And then he starts doing it. Oh, that's wonderful. Oh.
さて、問題。軽く言いますが、エリスはお金を持っているんですか？
Aw.
おじい様が出してくれるわ。
ですよね。
Bro, I'm sort of blown away. Like, you know how I'm talking? I feel like sometimes, right? And sometimes I scare myself. Statement of the night. Sometimes I scare myself. Because, like, no, I know some people on YouTube are probably like, oh, he's like reading up ahead and whatnot. No, I'm not. I'm doing this quite literally live with everyone. But, like, yeah, sometimes I scare myself because, like, I'm sort of thinking about, like, we mentioned grandfather in the first little bit and how, grandpa sort of like with this, like, I don't know, I guess in the West we have that saying, like, his head cut off, or like he'd do anything for his, like, daughter. He'd go up and beyond to try and, or granddaughter, up and beyond for her, so on and so forth. But that spoilerture can really lead to some real serious behavioral downfalls, as we talked about, And it's just awesome to see how it's, like, reinforced the way that it's brought back up. So yeah, I'm sort of blown away that, like, it's been like time after time, and it's scary for me that I bring it up, and I bring it up thinking like, it'll probably never get addressed, and it gets addressed either the next or like really down the line. I don't know. It's scary for me. It's awesome. It's awesome to hear.
気持ちはありがたいのですが、そういうのは自分のお金を持てるようになってからにした方がいいですよ。
Aw.
わかったわよ。
珍しく静かだ。いつもこれぐらいなら楽なんだがな。エリスなりの日頃のお礼のつもりだったのだろうか。
まあ、お小遣いをもらえるように帰ったらフィリップ様に頼んでみ。
Bro, I'm gonna be straight up with you. I don't give a shit how many haters I get from this. If she ends up hurting Rudius in the future, I'm gonna be fucking pissed, dude. And vice versa. If he ends up hurting her too, I'm gonna be fucking pissed, dude. Because, like straight up, I'm gonna be pissed because of 2 reasons, right? Number one, any adult seeing these interactions and seeing her behavioral patterns should instantly note, like, maybe we should work on your social skills and fair play and stuff like this, even through, fuck the nobility lens right now, let's bring it down to common traits, yeah, like commoners, yeah? Like, if nobility, like, if you were seeing this in a child, her behavior in a child, what the fuck would you do? If your child was acting the way that she does, what would you do? What would you say? I know what I would say. Where the fuck is a chancla, dude? Like, calm the fuck down, dude. Like, treat people with respect. You're not going to be perfect at, like, you're not going to have all the gold in the world. You're probably not going to be perfect at everything. You're going to fail. You're going to have mistakes, and you're going to grow from it. And, like, teaching those lessons and lessons of, like, non-comparisons and lessons of, like, how to rely on your friends and grow on your friends and, where the chancla. I don't know. Well, if you had a child right now, Masters, you had one right now. And that's my point, Magister. It's like that's as a parent and whatnot, like instantly, or even as an adult that's taking care or caregiver or whatever, you would know, yo, she has no social skills, or she's barely developing them, and she's older than Rudy is. This is weird. This is not like fitting the normal time span. I'm not gonna say abnormal because people have weird, like different, time spans in which they hit certain shit. But like it would instantly cross my mind, like, something's a little different, something's a little off. Maybe we have to go ahead and and then I'm sad, but maybe we have to go ahead and like address this, and vice versa with Rudius as well. Like, you clearly have seen what happened with Sophie, and it happened again. Is this a trend that we're gonna see? Here's the number one mistake that he can do. As a psychologist thinking in the here and now, let me take a drink. And I'm in whiskey, man. It hits. As a psychologist thinking in the here and now, the worst mistake that he can do is instead of motivating himself for future ambitions, motivate himself through a sexual ambition. If he motivates himself through a sexual ambition, by the way, my bad, if I guess he said social, a sexual ambition, do you guys know what will happen? If he lets himself, if he pulls himself, what will happen? I progs it. We've been really long at this stream. I said it was going to be a short stream. I have a headache, but I've been drinking whiskey. It happens. If he pulls him, hide by Nick Murray, so I'll hope to see you back. Yeah, if he pulls himself, if he drives himself by his like sexual ambition, what will happen? Anyone care to take a guess? Yeah, Dark Dog, it would have been. It would have been. Paul is now a verb. Yes. Don't be a Paul. Anyone want to take a guess? You guys are making a lot of good puns. Wow. A lot of good Pauls. Fuck, dude, we're at that point in the night. A lot of good memes. If he drives himself by his sexual ambitions, what will happen to Rudius in the future? My croissant. Okay, what would happen to him, essentially, is, especially if he gets attached in any way, shape, or form, he might experience one of the downest downs you have ever experienced. Quite literally, like what I like to call being at the bottom of a hole, right? If you guys have ever been in a long-term relationship where you gave it your all and all of a sudden like they cheated, they broke up with you, anyone, especially if they had an avoidant attachment style or something like that, you guys would know firsthand. You guys would know firsthand like how a breakup with a scenario that like lasted a good while can affect you, and what ways it can take you, and how it can like cause you to literally like, even if you've gained social skills, completely fucking detract them to like minimum interaction. You could probably even have like a distaste for food, like lose a lot of weight or gain a lot of weight. Sexual drive can fluctuate from extreme high, either seeing other people as objects, to nothing at all because of the damage that is done to a person that can't even process their own boundaries and emotions at a younger age. And we can go on with like socioeconomic status, we can go on with schemas, we can go on with even like losing motivation to even study, magic in this case, and so on and so forth. So it could go 1,001 directions. But the main point being, like, with these two interacting, I would constantly be aware. That's like a red fucking flag that flies off to any psychologist that sees it. And that's like, I get that she's trying to make friends, but like in his, like, maybe even like interacting with Rudy in this nice way, right? But you also have to be aware that like, hey, maybe the interaction should be more than just like that. Maybe we should have like taken her out more. Maybe we should have allowed her to go out and talk, Yeah. Sorry guys, sorry. I apologize for going a little rough in there.
「
Oh. What the fuck? Bruh. Any flying palace in the sky you
見
don't
るのは
trust.
初めてか？
知っているのかライデン。ギレー
Bruh.
ヌ。
知らないのか？あれは光竜王ペルギウスの空中要塞だ。
ペルギウス？
ペルギウスっていうのはね、魔人ラプラスを倒した三英雄の人。
Alright, I have 4 different ways of thinking at the moment. Who are the other 2 heroes, first off? The demon god Laplace. What happened with that, number 1? Alright, so I'm really curious about this already, but number 2 is that this brings up the option that there are other gods in this area. And now I have a weird fucking theory. This connected so many dots for me, but I have a weird fucking theory. Yeah. Masters, if you, yeah. If there's the demon god, are there other gods? And if that's the case, do these gods have the ability or the power to bring in other people from other universes here? Or is it just like a general god of this world with no ability to go ahead and go into parallel universes? And if that's the case, right? Yeah. If that's the case, you know, well, whose narrative is being told here? Because usually we get the narrative that's always being told by the victor and never by the defeat. And so on and so forth, you know? Like, for example, if there is the demon god, is there like an angel god? Is there a, I don't know, a beast god, a cat god, a human god, so on and so forth? Like, you can go down the line. And with all of that being said, like, there's a lot to dissect there. My brain's just racing. I'll let it finish and then I'll give you my thoughts at the end.
お嬢様は博識ですね。
今は交流歴414年だが、その交流歴というのもラプラスを倒した功績を称えてつけられたものなんだ。
There's something weird about this, dude. There's something so fucking weird about this. There's something, I don't know, dude. Anytime a narrative is shifted, like even like, for example, like an emperor or something weird like that, there's always more to the story than what's always being told. I.e., if you're making someone out, for example, I did this with even Satala, right? Which is where people demonize her, so on and so forth. There's always more to that backstory. There's always more that's given that happened that may not necessarily just make him a black and white character. You know? And for the rap god, I vote Eminem. Because he began to feel like a rap god.
ラプラスとの戦争とやらが終わって400年。ずっと浮いてるのか。てか、そのペルギウスってのは本当に生きているんだろうか。
So how don't you know if a guy's been like, if he's lived for 400 years, how don't you know that his like sense of morality has shifted, or like, you know, who is an enemy of like someone that's lived for this long? There's so many fucking questions, dude.
この後、うまくごまかすのは大変だった。
Bruh.
何せ巷で噂の暴力娘と猛禽剣士。しかし2人
Yeah,
の
what were you planning with
着
that?
実に出ているようだ。
First off, you're 7, brother. Can you even not like let's first off, yeah. Are you waiting to use it in your later years? In which case you would probably wait for deflation, because I'm pretty sure if it's that high of a price at that age, like over time it would decrease in price, you know? No, well, even if you sell it to a lord to make money, right? Like, if you think logically speaking, right? Like in a 5, 6, 7, even 10-year period, let's say you're 17, the price of that drug would have probably deflated to somewhere that would have been kind of reasonable, you know? Yeah, and he didn't even buy it. She bought it for him. Oof. And my point is, like, if he was trying to take it for himself, I'm pretty sure it would have little to no effect. Like, what the fuck, dude?
今はとりあえずそれを喜んでおこう。
Aw. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've hit that. We've hit that pretty well, I think, overall. But again, it's not hurting to try. No, it's been quite a lot. It's interesting that like we're going through so much and we're able to go ahead and like Masters. Who says we're done though? And I'm tired and I have a headache, but I'm still going through this. There's so much to go ahead and dissect and be able to talk about that. In case you guys are wondering, this might be something else that you guys are able to go ahead and look into, which is the attachment styles that are present in this show. You know, i.e., where does this like lead into? Where does it go? Why does it go there? How does Rudius become like, unresponsive, or, his caregiver's rather well head? And why does he show no distress, and so on and so forth? And how can an avoidant attachment become an ambivalent or anxious attachment, in case you guys are wondering what that is? In a sense, and that number one sense is the way that you're able to go ahead and communicate, the way that you're able to go ahead and, I don't know how to put it, like have informed relationships, be able to grow and be able to understand one another, So, with all of that, let me bring this up. Oh. See, I don't often shit on people or try and talk about this, but we've talked about this in episode 2 or 3, I believe, which is sort of the defense mechanism. This is Anna Freud's defense mechanisms. And in case you guys are wondering, probably a majority of what I've talked about, if you guys have watched the Moshko Tensei series up to now, congratulations. You guys probably have a better understanding of psychological principles than most people that are taking their bachelor level class. It's point in time. I gotta give it up to you. Hi, Magister. Thanks for the greetings. Hope you're staying safe, man. But yeah, Venom Sedge. But yeah, so I brought this up. Congratulations. Yeah, in case you guys are like wondering, a lot of what I'm talking about, like they would teach it probably like kind of in the later stages of your introduction to psych classes or your abnormal psychology classes, and then briefly go over it in a very boring way. But if you're able to take away any little instance, i.e., for example, if you're looking at like projection, like how, for example, a parent can go ahead and project their ideal onto a child or so on and so forth using anime, using any of the things that games or any of the things that we've talked about, you are now at a level where you're actually able to go ahead and try and understand a character better, where he's coming from and where they're going, and an individual as well, and be a lot more empathetic. So congratulations, round of applause for you. But with that being said, what is something that is constantly being used for Eris? We're not going to go with Rudius because we've already done Rudy. For Eris. Can you guys see one in here? First of all, let me take a fucking wild guess. Let me take a wild guess here. In the future, we'll probably see a lot of regression. We'll probably see a lot of regression in the future from Eris. That's sort of what I'm saying already, just based off of the way that like they react, their behavioral patterns, so on and so forth. I can probably already do that, and a lot of projection and denial off of themselves, maybe even repressing certain things, but that's separate, right? But at the moment, we're kind of seeing a lot of displacement, sort of kicking and punching and using displacement and aggression as the number one way of being able to let go of their emotions, which can become very toxic very, very quickly. And with all of that being said, like if there is displacement going on, this is an issue that almost immediately, especially as a child, has to be addressed by the parents. Any of these things, it's okay to be in denial for, i.e., it's one of the stages of grief, like being in denial is fine for a little bit, but you also have to like pick yourself up and keep going. Repressing a memory that often happens with trauma. That's often how our brain is able to learn how to cope with it and being able to grow and being able to move. Projection. That's a constant. Like I'm sorry, even though it's a defense mechanism, all of us project at a certain limit. You know, we project ourselves onto characters, for example, which is not healthy, but people do it. We project ourselves onto uh people that we want to be like. We project ourselves into our friends. We project our own securities and insecurities onto others. So it's perfectly important that we talk about that. Um, Displacement, of course, sort of what we talked about: displacement, regression, and sublimation. What do you mean? Do you know of a toxic way sublimation since in media and in real life? I only know sublimation is a positive. No. It's, I don't know how to put it. Here's the thing: if you put sublimation, can in turn become extremely like hyper focusing on a subject or a hobby or something, and that can affect you. Hey, Manchester, thanks for following. I really appreciate it, man. I really like growing out the base that we have in community. I think that kind of projection is human nature. Some kinds of projection are human nature, but other kinds are trauma based. And that's where you need to be careful of. Because, for example, if you have super religious parents, right, and they've gone through some weird traumatic shit, your parents' trauma are their own, and they should never put their trauma on you. Such as like other people's, your partner's parents' trauma are their own, they should never put their trauma on you, and so on and so forth. You know? Yeah, an unhealthy hyperfocus, i.e., music. So, say that you've had a really bad breakup and your defense mechanism is to sublimate into music so you create some fucking amazing masterpieces. You hyperfocus to the point where it's like, you know, you're writing musical scores, musical compositions, beauty, and you're able, like, you can't get it off your mind. And then when you're done, you end up feeling this emptiness and you try and sublimate it into something else, but you're still stressed out, and sublimation comes and goes, you know? No. Sublimation, in a small doses, it's okay, but the hyper focusing, yeah, the hyper focusing or ignoring the part of the trauma that is hurting you, that's where you need to be careful and that's where you need to grow. What do I think of Paul as a parent? First off, I don't think he's a good parent. I'm gonna be straight up with you. Absolutely not. I think a majority, like if we look at sort of what he's done, and where he's going for, and if the excuses before it's been brought up, because I know YouTube brought this up before, it's his first child. He doesn't know what he's doing. For that, I say incorrect. It is his first child, so he should move to try and improve himself and try and become a better individual. You know, i.e., my parents had children when they were 18, right? They had their first child, and they still had to talks with them about boundaries, about plays, about so on and so forth. You know, Paul can be a Giga Chat all he wants. Paul can honestly be with 101 women, but that doesn't make him a good parent. Paul can be a perfect knight. That doesn't make him a good parent. Paul can literally provide all the money in the world. That still doesn't make him a good parent. See, there we go. Now we're justifying, guys. Yeah, loving parents don't mean good parents, guys. Cut the connection between the two. A parent can love you to the point of suffocation. It does not mean it's a good parent. A parent can literally give you everything you've ever wanted. That does not mean they're a good parent. Yeah, exactly. And even if in Paul's childhood, like you're mentioning, Shu, his father kicked him out. His trauma is his own trauma. That doesn't mean it's Rudius's trauma. That doesn't mean it's like anybody else's trauma. That's his own trauma, you know? Even if he ran away, even if he did whatever decisions he had to do, you know? But that's the point. It's like, you know, i.e., I could go through 1,001 breakups, and that's exactly why I'm pointing it out, guys, because we tend to, like, especially parents, in a weird way, parents try to guilt trip their children into being like, we provided everything for you, you know, you never had to go hungry, you never had to do everything, so why do you hate us? Why do you have all these emotions against us? And it's because, you've done the bare minimum at that point. The bare minimum of having a child is providing food, providing shelter, and providing care. That is the bare minimum of being a parent. And if you can't grasp that, then at that point in time, you should know that is not, from that point on, that's not being a good parent, you know? Exactly. But that's my point, Nick Mir, is you can have all the best intentions in the world, but if your executions suck and you don't know how to apologize for it, or you don't redeem yourself almost immediately, then you know for a fact that your intentions were only half-assed at that point. I.e., for example, I could have the best intentions in the world by sending a okay, how about this? We need to talk. If I sent you that text message, I bet you a majority of you guys would get anxious, especially if you're in a relationship or something. Execution, fucking flawed. If I was like, hey, we need to talk about this thing that popped up at my work, I wanted to vent. Execution, perfectly. If I said, hey, we need to talk, period, sent it, right? And then like a minute later, I was like, oh shit, I didn't mean it in that tone. Hey, you know what? I fucked up, dude. So on and so forth. Execution, a little bit better. I recognize my flaw, you know? Yeah, and Nick Mir, unfortunately, there are a lot of people, and here's the sad part. There are a lot of people that will literally project, and this is a good way to use this, project their parents and like sort of be like, oh, you know what, these parents are very similar to mine, and project their parents onto the anime, and then be like, you're insulting my parents, you're insulting something that's mine. It's like, no, I'm not. What I'm saying is that there's a big difference between being a parent that is loving and being a good parent. Very different things. You know, your parents can love you, your parents can care about you, your parents can give you the world. That doesn't mean that they're a good parent, especially if they're not teaching you the boundaries and the settings that need to be done. Anyway. uh, what else? The problem is that Rudy seems to pick up after him. Exactly, Magister. That 100% correct. And that's sort of where you have to like put into consideration, i.e., talk about Sylphie. How much of an effect did that actually have on Rudy? Or was it a one-time thing that was brushed off? And that's where you have to start looking at scenarios like this, you know? Yeah, actually, Shaket. Weirdly enough, yes. There can be a parent that can be kind of cold, you know, like hot enough that's like, all right, you're growing up, whatever, right? But still teach you about boundaries, still teach you about life, still teach you about how to navigate certain situations. Still mention, hey, you know what? If you're having a hard time, you can come to me. Like, we may not always get along, but I'm here for you. Like, either to give you advice or to, you know, to help guide you in the right way if you need that. So on and so forth. A good parent can exist even in a non-loving setting, you know? True, I would, so far, I would kind of agree with you on that one. Um, but here's my thing. Everyone can be flawed, but that doesn't excuse reoccurring behavior. So, for example, if I say to you guys, hey, you guys know what? I'm going to work on this particular thing, and I keep saying it every stream for a year, you guys would get dulled and like bold, like, you know, you guys would get dulled about me saying it over and over every single stream. Because of that, right? Like, it's important to realize that if I say an action that I'm going to take, I need to take that action. I need to make sure that the action comes through for a betterment of myself and a betterment for you guys. Yeah, Nick Mayer, sadly. And most parents, here's the thing, most parents, and this is why we talked about generational trauma earlier, most parents cover their ears and cover their eyes because they don't want to know that the parenting style is rough. Their parenting style can be worked on, can be improved. A lot of parents are weird about stuff like that, you know. Yeah, there's a lot of rough subjects that one can go ahead and pick on. I think that's like 2 hours. I think we've been at this for 2 hours. Yeah, guys. I think it was like 10:30 when we started Moshiko Tensei. I believe so. Magister, but take away the fact that he's been reincarnated, right? That's my number one thing is take away the fact that he's been like reincarnated from another world, right? And just look at him as a child from this perspective, right? Because like a lot of people try and shift blame onto his older life, right? When the fact is, if he's been reincarnated into this world, your parent is still the person that is taking care of you, your caregiver, i.e., he wouldn't be able to eat, clean himself, so on and so forth in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I.e., if the parents left him outside when he was a baby, he would probably die. So at that point in time, the caregivers are super duper important, you know? Um, It is 12:30 a.m. or 0:30 in case military time. I am tired, but this is the last thing. We did this for Rudius. Oh, that's not the right one. In case you guys are wondering, and for those of you guys who are Mushoku Tensei fans or ReZero fans or anything like that, this is what you guys can go ahead and do for any character of any novel that you've read and you're thinking about, where can I go forward? What if we change the religious hierarchy? How does that affect this thing? Where does it go? How does that affect the person in the middle? So on and so forth. If you guys build one of these, you guys will have an almost really good sociological, ecological lens through Bronfenbrenner's theory as to how things may move if a certain thing is impacted. Bro. You can literally just type in sociological imagination on Google and it'll pop up, dude. This is like master's level work, by the way. This ain't like your classic like bachelor level stuff. I don't think we have enough info on Eris right now, to be honest. Yeah. I think we still need a lot more stuff. And yeah, like gods and stuff, that would be macro level. But it is, if you guys do have that information, you guys are able to plug that in and able to go for it and able to do what you do. But anyway, with that being said, I hope you guys liked our discussion points for Mushoku Tensei. I really appreciate all of you guys being here. You guys are the absolute best. I really appreciate each and every single one of you, especially here on Twitch. Join us on Twitch, join us on Discord, join us on Minecraft, which I'm about to show the individuals on our chat what we have on our Minecraft server. But yeah, I'm about to go really quickly into Minecraft just to show you guys what we have done so far in our Minecraft server and how you guys can join and help us out. Anyway, I really appreciate you guys. Leave a comment, like, subscribe. Hey, Don Lucius, thanks for following. But yeah, I really want to show you guys what we have built. And as I said, like, comment, subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. Let me know what you think. I know that there have been people sharing the videos on Reddit. I'm glad. I hope you guys enjoy it. As I said, I do this literally for any anime that we've been watching. We go episode by episode, so on and so forth. If you guys want to join us, feel free to join us. Anyway, bye YouTube. Have a great day. Practice self-care. I'll talk to you guys later.